dangerous chapter. On February 28, 2026, the United States and its close ally Israel launched a major military operation against Iran. This action has plunged the region into a serious conflict. The fighting involves some of the most powerful militaries in the world. It marks a significant escalation after years of tension and failed negotiations. The world is now watching as this conflict unfolds, worried about what it means for global peace and stability. The situation is changing rapidly, with new developments happening every single day. The consequences of this war are already being felt far beyond the immediate battlefield. This conflict is not just between three countries. It is a complex web of alliances and old rivalries. The United States and Israel are on one side. They are working together in this military campaign. On the other side is Iran, a major power in the region. The operation began with a sudden and massive series of airstrikes. These strikes were aimed at key targets inside Iran. This initial attack was described as a preemptive move. Leaders said it was necessary to prevent a future, larger war. However, this action has started a conflict that is now growing larger and more unpredictable with each passing hour. The fighting has quickly moved beyond Iran's borders. It has turned the entire Middle East into a potential war zone. Neighboring countries are being drawn into the violence. This includes nations that are allies of the United States. Missile and drone attacks have been reported in several countries across the Persian Gulf. This rapid expansion of the conflict is a major source of concern for international observers. The fear is that a limited strike could spiral into a much wider regional war. This would involve many more nations and cause even greater destruction and instability across an already volatile part of the world. Tonight, as we stand on March 4, 2026, the situation remains incredibly tense. The initial goals of the United States and Israeli operation were stated clearly, but the path to achieving them is now filled with new and unforeseen challenges. Iran has vowed to fight back fiercely. It has already demonstrated its ability to strike back at its adversaries. The conflict is sending shockwaves across the globe. It is affecting everything from the price of oil to the safety of citizens living thousands of miles away. The world is holding its breath, hoping for a swift end to the violence, but preparing for a long and difficult struggle ahead. The reasons for this military operation are complex. The United States and Israel have stated their primary goals very clearly. They say this action is necessary to protect their national security. A key objective is to stop Iran from ever developing nuclear weapons. For years, international talks have tried to limit Iran's nuclear program. These talks, most recently in Geneva, ultimately failed to produce a lasting agreement. This failure, combined with intelligence suggesting Iran was close to a breakthrough, pushed leaders to act. They decided that a military strike was the only option left to prevent what they see as a major threat. Another major goal is to weaken Iran's military power. This includes destroying its long-range missile capabilities. These missiles are seen as a direct threat to Israel and to United States military bases in the region. The operation also aims to annihilate Iran's navy. The navy poses a significant danger to international shipping in vital waterways like the Strait of Hormuz. By targeting these assets, the United States and Israel hope to reduce Iran's ability to project power and threaten its neighbors. The strikes are designed to be precise, hitting military targets while trying to avoid a prolonged ground war, a scenario everyone wants to avoid. The operation also seeks to end Iran's support for various groups across the region. The United States considers many of these groups to be terrorist organizations. Groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon have long been supported by Iran. They have been a source of instability and conflict for decades. By cutting off Iran's ability to fund and arm these proxies, the United States and Israel hope to bring more stability to the Middle East. They believe that weakening Iran will, in turn, weaken these other militant groups. This would reshape the balance of power in the region and reduce the threat of future proxy wars. United States President Donald Trump has offered a timeline for the operation. He suggested the conflict could last for 4 to 5 weeks. However, he also stated that the campaign is reportedly ahead of schedule. The initial surprise attack was a major blow to Iran's leadership. It killed the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, along with dozens of senior military commanders. This has created a power vacuum in Tehran. President Trump has claimed that Iran's new transitional leadership is already showing interest in negotiating. This suggests a possible diplomatic path to ending the conflict, but the fighting on the ground continues with great intensity. The conflict that began with targeted strikes on Iran has not remained contained. It has quickly spread like a wildfire across the Middle East. The initial attacks by the United States and Israel prompted a swift and aggressive response from Iran. This retaliation was not limited to direct attacks on American or Israeli forces. Instead, Iran has targeted a wide range of locations across the region. This has drawn many other nations into the conflict. Countries that host United States military bases or are seen as allies of the West have now become targets. The war is no longer just about Iran, it is now a regional crisis. Iran has used its arsenal of missiles and armed drones to strike back. These attacks have been launched against multiple countries in the Persian Gulf. Nations like Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia have all been hit. These countries are home to critical United States military installations. They are also major players in the global energy market. The attacks are a clear signal from Iran that it can and will inflict pain on America's allies. This strategy aims to create pressure on the United States to halt its military campaign by showing the high cost of the conflict for the entire region. The expansion of the war is also happening on other fronts. Israel, a key partner in the operation, has faced direct attacks from Iran. Missiles have been launched toward Israeli cities, testing the country's advanced air defense systems. In response, Israel has not only defended its territory, but has also gone on the offensive against Iranian proxies. Israeli forces have conducted airstrikes against Hezbollah targets in Beirut and southern Lebanon. This has raised fears of a new, full-blown war between Israel and Hezbollah, which would open another devastating front in this already widespread conflict and cause immense suffering in Lebanon. The humanitarian impact of this spreading fire is growing daily. In Lebanon, the Israeli strikes have caused panic and displacement. Over 30,000 people have already fled their homes in the southern part of the country. They are seeking safety from the escalating violence. This creates a new refugee crisis in a country already facing severe economic and political problems. The widening of the war means that more and more civilians are being caught in the crossfire. The conflict is no longer a distant event for people in these neighboring countries. It is a direct and immediate threat to their lives and livelihoods. Iran's response to the United States-Israeli operation has been forceful and widespread. It has targeted key allies of the United States across the Persian Gulf. In Saudi Arabia, one of the most significant attacks targeted the country's vital oil infrastructure. Iranian missiles struck major oil fields, sending plumes of black smoke into the sky. This was a direct assault on the heart of the Saudi economy and a strategic blow to global energy supplies. In addition to the oil fields, the United States Embassy in the Saudi capital, Riyadh, was also targeted. This attack on a diplomatic facility is a clear message that Iran considers all American interests in the region to be legitimate targets. The small island nation of Bahrain, which hosts the United States Navy's Fifth Fleet, has also come under fire. The Fifth Fleet is responsible for naval operations in the Persian Gulf, Red Sea, and Arabian Sea. It is a critical hub for American military power in the Middle East. By launching attacks toward Bahrain, Iran is attempting to disrupt United States naval operations and demonstrate that even heavily fortified American bases are not safe. These attacks create a high-stakes environment for the thousands of United States personnel stationed there. They also put the civilian population of Bahrain at risk of being caught in the middle of a major power conflict. Kuwait, another key United States ally, has also been drawn into the violence. The country serves as a major staging ground for American troops and equipment. Tragically, this has also made it a battlefield. In a confusing and dangerous incident, 3 United States fighter jets were mistakenly shot down over Kuwait by friendly fire. While the crews fortunately survived, the incident highlights the chaotic nature of modern warfare. The skies over the Gulf are now filled with aircraft and missile defense systems from multiple nations, increasing the risk of such deadly errors. Iran's actions have turned the airspace of its neighbors into a contested and hazardous zone. Qatar, home to the largest United States military base in the Middle East, Al Udeid Air Base, has also been targeted. This base is the central command for United States air operations in the region. Attacks on or near Qatar are a direct challenge to America's ability to project air power. Furthermore, Qatar is a major exporter of natural gas. Attacks on its energy facilities have immediate global economic consequences. By striking these Gulf nations, Iran is not just fighting the United States and Israel, it is also trying to create divisions among the Arab states, some of whom have been trying to improve relations with Iran in recent years. Every conflict has a human cost, and this war is no different. The violence has already led to the loss of life and injuries among both military personnel and civilians. As of March 3, 2026, the United States has reported that at least 6 American service members have been killed in the fighting. Another 18 have been injured. These casualties are a stark reminder of the dangers faced by the men and women in uniform who are carrying out this operation. Each loss is a tragedy for a family and a community back home. The deaths and injuries have occurred in various incidents across the region, highlighting the widespread nature of the danger. The toll on civilians has been particularly devastating. In Iran, the numbers are grim, and honestly, they continue to rise. The Iranian Red Crescent, a major humanitarian organization, has reported that 787 people have been killed so far. A US-based human rights group has provided a similar figure, reporting 742 civilian deaths. Their report adds a heartbreaking detail: among the dead are at least 176 children. Iran has accused the US and Israel of striking civilian infrastructure, including a school and 9 hospitals. While the US military insists it is only targeting military sites, in any large-scale bombing campaign, civilian casualties are a tragic and often unavoidable consequence. Civilians in other countries have also been killed. In Israel, a nation accustomed to conflict, the threat has become terrifyingly real. An Iranian missile that slipped past Israel's air defenses struck a residential area. This single attack killed 9 people and wounded many more. It brought the war directly into Israeli homes, shattering any sense of safety. The attack demonstrates that even with one of the most advanced missile defense systems in the world, the Iron Dome, it is impossible to guarantee complete protection. The psychological impact of such attacks on the population is immense, fueling fear and a desire for greater security. The conflict has also created a wave of displacement. People are being forced to flee their homes to escape the violence. In southern Lebanon, where Israeli forces have been striking Hezbollah targets, the situation is dire. More than 30,000 people have abandoned their towns and villages, becoming refugees in their own country. They carry with them only what they can, leaving behind their homes, jobs, and communities. This mass movement of people puts a huge strain on resources in safer parts of the country. It adds another layer of human suffering to a war that is already causing so much pain and loss across the entire Middle East. The military operation against Iran has been executed with overwhelming force and advanced technology. The United States and Israel have deployed a wide array of sophisticated weapons to strike their targets. The initial wave of attacks involved hundreds of Tomahawk cruise missiles. These are long-range missiles that can be launched from ships and submarines far out at sea. They fly low to the ground to avoid radar detection and are guided with extreme precision to their targets. This allows the United States to strike deep inside Iran without risking pilots in the most heavily defended areas. The goal is to dismantle Iran's defenses from a safe distance. In addition to missiles, the United States Air Force has used its most powerful bombers. The B-1 and B-2 Spirit bombers have flown long-range missions to strike targets in Iran. The B-2 is a stealth bomber, meaning it's designed to be nearly invisible to enemy radar. This allows it to penetrate deep into enemy airspace and drop powerful munitions on the most important targets. These bombers have been used to attack heavily fortified and underground missile sites. The use of these advanced aircraft really shows the seriousness of the operation. It is a clear demonstration of America's technological and military superiority in the air. The scale of the bombing campaign has been immense. Since the start of the operation just a few days ago, over 1,200 targets inside Iran have been hit. These are not random strikes. Each target is carefully selected as part of a broader strategy. The targets include missile launch sites, naval bases, air defense systems, and command and control centers. The aim is to systematically dismantle Iran's ability to wage war. By destroying its military infrastructure, the United States and Israel hope to force Iran's new leaders to the negotiating table from a position of weakness, unable to continue the fight effectively. The initial strike achieved a major strategic victory. It resulted in the death of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and dozens of senior commanders in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This was a decapitation strike designed to remove the top leadership and create chaos and confusion within the Iranian regime. Following these losses, Iran has appointed a new commander-in-chief for the IRGC, Ahmad Vahidi. A transitional council is now temporarily leading the country. This leadership change in the middle of a war creates both uncertainty and a potential opportunity for a resolution, though the path forward remains fraught with danger. The conflict in the Middle East has sent powerful shockwaves through the global economy. The region is the world's most important supplier of oil and gas, and the fighting has caused massive disruptions. Iran has threatened to attack any ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway is a critical choke point for global energy. About 1/5 of the world's entire oil and natural gas supply passes through it every day. Due to the threats and the ongoing military operations, the strait is now effectively closed to commercial shipping. This has choked off a vital artery of the world economy, creating a crisis for energy markets. The impact on oil prices was immediate and dramatic. As news of the conflict spread, the price of Brent crude, a global benchmark for oil, surged higher. It is now nearing $80 per barrel. This is a significant increase in a very short period. Traders and investors are worried that the conflict will be long, and that the disruption to oil supplies will get worse. Attacks have already hit energy facilities in Oman, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, in addition to the major strikes in Saudi Arabia. This direct targeting of energy infrastructure suggests that the supply disruptions will not end soon. For ordinary people around the world, the most noticeable effect is at the gas pump. In the United States, the national average price for a gallon of gasoline has already surpassed $3. This rise in fuel costs affects everyone. It makes it more expensive for people to drive to work, for trucks to deliver food to grocery stores, and for airlines to operate. This leads to higher prices for almost all goods and services, a phenomenon known as inflation. A recent poll found that 45% of Americans would be less likely to support the military campaign if gas prices continue to rise, showing how economic pain at home can affect public opinion on foreign policy. The economic consequences go beyond just oil and gas. Global stock markets have been volatile, as investors are nervous about the uncertainty. The widespread airspace closures across the Middle East are disrupting international travel and trade. Airlines are forced to cancel flights or take much longer, more expensive routes. This conflict is a powerful reminder of how interconnected the world is. A war in one region can have a direct and immediate financial impact on people living thousands of miles away. The longer the fighting continues, the more severe the economic damage is likely to become for the entire world. In response to the escalating conflict, the United States government has taken the extraordinary step of issuing urgent warnings to its citizens in the Middle East. The United States State Department has released a Level 4 travel advisory, its highest level of warning, which means do not travel. More than that, it has urged all American citizens currently in the region to leave immediately. This is not a suggestion but a strong directive based on credible threats to their safety. The government is warning that it may have a very limited ability to help any citizens who choose to remain behind as the conflict intensifies. The evacuation order covers a wide swath of the region. It includes 14 countries, which really underscores the widespread danger. The list includes not only countries directly involved or bordering the conflict, like Israel and Saudi Arabia, but also nations that are popular tourist destinations, such as Jordan and Egypt. The inclusion of these countries shows how seriously United States officials view the potential for the conflict to spread unpredictably. The message is clear: no part of the region is considered completely safe for Americans at this time. The warning also extends to countries like the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain, where Iran has already launched retaliatory attacks. Getting out of the region is becoming increasingly difficult. The conflict has led to widespread airspace closures. Many countries have shut down their skies to all civilian air traffic as a safety precaution. This means that commercial flights are being canceled, leaving thousands of travelers stranded. Airports that are still open are overwhelmed with people trying to book a flight out. The limited availability of flights is creating scenes of chaos and desperation. For Americans trying to heed the government's warning, the logistical challenge of simply finding a way home has become a nightmare in itself, adding to their fear and anxiety. The warnings highlight a grim reality of this conflict. American citizens abroad are now seen as potential targets. The attacks on the United States Embassy in Riyadh show that diplomatic posts are not immune from violence. The State Department is concerned about the risk of everything from missile strikes to kidnapping or terrorist attacks directed at Americans. This is why the advice is so blunt: leave now, while you still can. The safety of its citizens is a top priority for any government, and this urgent evacuation order is the most powerful tool the United States has to protect them in a region that has become a war zone. As we enter the second week of this conflict, the future of the Middle East hangs in the balance. The United States-Israeli military operation has achieved some of its initial objectives, most notably the elimination of Iran's top leadership. However, it has also unleashed a wave of violence and instability that now threatens to consume the entire region. The conflict is far from over. Iran, despite its losses, is proving that it can still inflict significant damage on its enemies and their allies. The world is now watching and waiting, uncertain of what will come next in this dangerous and unpredictable war. Public opinion in the United States is deeply divided. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll shows that a majority of Americans, 59%, disapprove of the strikes on Iran. Only 27% approve of the action. This lack of public support could become a major problem for the administration, especially as the conflict continues, and the costs, both human and economic, begin to mount. President Trump's overall approval rating has already dropped to 39%. With midterm election primaries on the horizon, the war is quickly becoming a major political issue at home, with critics demanding a clear strategy and an exit plan from the conflict. The international community remains on high alert. Global leaders are calling for de-escalation and a return to diplomacy, but their calls are being drowned out by the sounds of war. The effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz has created a global energy crisis, and the economic pain is being felt worldwide. The conflict is testing old alliances and creating new tensions. The long-term consequences of this war are impossible to predict. It could redraw the map of the Middle East, shift the global balance of power, and lead to years of further instability and violence in this already troubled region. For now, the fighting continues. Military forces are engaged, missiles are flying, and civilians are caught in the crossfire. The initial United States projection of a 4 to 5 week campaign may prove to be optimistic. Many experts fear a much longer and more drawn-out struggle. The death of Iran's supreme leader has created a power vacuum, and while the United States hopes the new leadership will negotiate, they could also choose to dig in for a protracted war of resistance. One thing is certain: the events of the past week have changed the world, and the path forward is shrouded in smoke.